This wasn't too bad. It came out pretty easy. I did have to pick it up with the front of the backhoe because when I picked it up with the back with the hoe, it took all the weight off the front tires. I'd have no way of turning. Now my backhoe does have independent brake pedals for the back tires, but my brakes don't work very good in that backhoe. It's one part of the backhoe that I need to really address. I need to get those brakes working better. The left brake works okay. The right brake I don't even touch because it does nothing. So I drug it out backwards using the bucket on the front, so I had plenty of weight on the front tires so I could steer. I also put it in low range, first gear, and just putted all the way back at idle. It worked out fine. There was no struggle for my backhoe. I did have to back and forth a couple times to reposition because this trailer is so wide. There were a couple narrow spots on my trail that I was fighting with, just trying to get, because this log's 40 feet long, 40 foot 6 inches long. Average diameter I think was 20 inches, 21 inches, something like that. You can see where my chainsaw has a 20-inch bar, and you can see where it stopped. You've got a section from here to here. That's where my chainsaw started and stopped. And I had to come back in from this side and cut in. So it was a little bit bigger than what my chainsaw could handle, but I still got it done. The GoPro mount for my backhoe. This is a new mount. It has more flexibility to it, but I don't know if it's going to have vibration. If I had my tractor at a certain RPM and I was just working or it was just sitting, sometimes you'd see like a waviness to the pitcher. It would throw a vibration in the pitcher. And I don't know, since this is the first time I've used this one, I don't know how that's going to turn out, if it's going to be more shaky or less shaky. But I'm sure when I go in there and edit this video, I'll figure all that out. Hopefully, I apologize right now if it's horrible. Hopefully it's not. The trailer itself works pretty good, but there are some things I need to modify. As far as the weight of this log, which like I said is one of the biggest logs on my property, it handled the weight no problem. It did sag the springs a little bit, but not bad. The tires don't seem to be sagging down like they're gonna pop or anything. So I'm not worried about the weight as far as the trailer, it can handle it. There are a couple things I wanna redo on this trailer, a couple modifications I wanna make. Number one, this piece of angle iron here, there's a good, well, at least inch gap on this side, and I haven't even looked at the other side, but these pieces of angle iron could be closer together by about 6 inches. This is one of the biggest logs I'm gonna pull out on my property, and it wouldn't stay straight on the trailer because it's not sitting up against these pieces of angle iron. So not a big deal. It only moved a little bit, but it does matter when you're maneuvering it, and you pop over a log or something in the trail or a rock, and it shifts the trailer just a little bit and wants to steer. Now, one thing I could do to make it easier to maneuver down the trail, number one, I could put the trailer halfway down the log so that I can pull it versus, I could pull it forward, the backhoe going forward versus pulling it backwards the whole way out. Having the trailer halfway up the log would take the weight off the hoe so I could pick it up with the hoe and just kind of drag it out. It would also make it more maneuverable because the wheels be closer to the backhoe. I wouldn't be cutting corners as I'm coming around them. But I think the trailer itself needs to be about 2 feet narrower just to make it easier to get down these trails. The trails are wider than my backhoe, but so is this trailer. This trailer is probably 8 inches, 10 inches wider than my backhoe. So having it narrower than my backhoe is going to be a bonus. I've also tossed around the idea of putting skids underneath this trailer. As I narrow it, I'd have to narrow the axle. I could narrow the axle, but it's kind of a nice axle to be cutting and chopping. So I don't know, when I narrow the trailer and make these modifications, I might see if I can get some old leaf springs out of the back of somebody's truck that's sitting on the side of their yard they're not using, say it's broken down or whatever. See if I can find a nice pair of heavy-duty leaf springs and put them on the sides after I narrow this trailer up, and use those as skis or skids. The only reason I want this log off the ground is so that the bark doesn't collect up a bunch of dirt and rocks. And dirt and rocks don't, say, even if the bark's coming off the tree, the dirt and rocks don't get embedded into the wood. When I go to mill it, I don't want to run into rocks. It's going to dull my blade too fast. So that's the reason I have these logs off the ground. But if I put a skid instead of wheels, it would be lower to the ground, and well, it might just be easier to build the trailer with skids on it. If the skids don't work, I can always take this axle and narrow it and bolt it back in. I won't do anything too permanent so that the axle can't go back on the trailer. Trailer worked out good though. It does need a couple modifications done to it. A little bit narrower, a little bit lower. Move these pieces of angle iron in, and well, we'll go from there. Skids versus wheels, I don't know, what do you think? You tell me, skids versus wheels. Still debating that part of it. Until next time, guys, go make something.